What the Puck with Sean Baligian.
Well, so glad you could join us on a Wednesday evening. Here it is, What the Puck. Of course, my name is Sean Baligian, Mike Iversol alongside. Very honored to be joined by a couple of guys that are going to be a part of the Wings Rangers alumni game, April 27th at Big Boy Arena. I'm going to keep saying this. I was very fortunate to be able to be in the broadcast booth for the game against the Bruins. I think both teams, the amount of players and the caliber they're playing, that they're bringing to this next game, my goodness gracious, you're going to love every second of it. And these guys are going to be a part of it. Let's welcome him in. Long-time Detroit Red Wing, played for a spell with the Nordique and, of course, the Rangers as well. John Ogrodnick kindly joining us. One of, I think at last count, there were 1,122 different Millers that played at Michigan State. Kelly Miller is certainly one of them. And as a proud Spartan fan, I can say go green to him. Kelly Miller, over 1,000 career NHL games, kindly joining us as well. Guys, really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Hey, Kelly, let's start with you. This is, this is such a cool opportunity to be able to play in these games. The Detroit Red Wings alumni do so many different games during the course of the year to give back to the community. I don't think people realize, how many games you guys play in, and, you go play this fire department, you go play this police department, whatever the case may be. There's something different when you get the Rangers on one side, the Wings on the other side. There's just a little something different when you get pro versus pro in these games.
Well, I tell you what, it's going to be a great experience. Obviously, great causes that we play for when we play these games. And, it's just fun. For me, it's just fun to see the guys. It's fun to see guys like John. I mean, Johnny O, we never played together, but I followed his career and love to watch him shoot the puck. And it just kind of relive some of the days when you're in the locker room, yucking it up and telling stories and just having fun together on the ice. And so I'm looking forward to the event, and I can't wait for April 27th to be here.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. And I'm going to start with John. I always like going back to the beginnings and the pathways you guys take to the NHL. You had the junior pathway. We talked a little bit before we came on with Westminster, 2 Memorial Cups. The Memorial Cups coming up. Not a lot of people understand how big that is. You won back-to-back Memorial Cups. Can you tell us a little bit about your junior experience?
It's a good question, Sean. You know what? It was, you're 17, 18 years old when we won it, and you're young and stuff like that. And I got called up. The first year we won it, we beat the Ottawa 67s. They had Bobby Smith, Steve Payne, Doug Wilson. And, it was a good round robin tournament, but it was exhilarating. We had Barry Beck, Stan Schmiel, Brad Maxwell, who unfortunately just recently passed away. But it was exciting, when it was broadcasted throughout Canada. And I think when you're 17 years old and you're able to win something like that, it's so exciting. And, but again, whenever you win a championship, it takes all 20 guys. And, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And what's amazing is the New Westminster Bruins, which is a suburb of Vancouver, Canada. You know what? The organization was just used to winning, because the second year we won it, we barely made the playoffs. We lost all our players. We had Stan Schmiel, myself. We didn't have the strongest lineup. But like I said, we just barely made the playoffs. We got in there, and the organization was just used to winning. And then that year, we ended up beating the Peterborough Petes, which was good. And unfortunately for Paul McKinnon, who's our treasurer for the alumni, every time we have, as Mickey would say, a Coca-Cola together, I always got to bring up 1978 when we kicked their butts there in Peterborough to win the Memorial Cup. But it's exciting times, you know what? And I'll say this, I don't want to take up too much of the answer, the time here. But I tell people I'd give up to 50 goals to be on a Stanley Cup championship team. That's the ultimate goal out there. And but like I said, I played on some good teams in New York and Quebec, and it's just, you're only strong as your weakest link,
Kelly, I'm going to follow up with you the same way. I'm always intrigued to hear how guys went on their path. I've been fortunate. I did broadcasts in the OHL, including in a Memorial Cup. Did some games up at Michigan State. You're a guy that you played for the old Redford Royals. A shout out to your former teammate, Kirk Hunter. We got it out of the way. We wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to you. And obviously in your own backyard at Michigan State. What made you decide on that path? There's no two paths the same, but that path, why did that work for you?
Well, so I grew up watching Michigan State hockey, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to wear the green and white, when I got to college. And I was drafted by the Peterborough Petes, actually, went to their training camp, had a good training camp. They wanted to sign me. And then I just, for me, the college route was the best route, although, the junior route's a very attractive route. I mean, let's face it. I mean, both produce very good players and turn young boys into men. And so, for me, the college route was always what I wanted to do. And, but, the junior route, you can't say anything bad about that either. I mean, they're just both good hockey. They're producing players like crazy and producing superstars.
Yeah, both routes you guys took landed you in the NHL. Kelly drafted 183rd by the Rangers. John 66th overall by the Red Wings. Now, I know the draft isn't quite the show that it is today, but what was your draft day experience like? And after, especially John, 59 goals as an 18-year-old, did you expect to go a little bit higher?
Well, this is what's interesting. You bring up history now, but our coach, Ernie McLean, called me into his office my draft year. And back then, ironically, when I was 18 years old, you had to be 19 turning 20 to get drafted. When I was 19 turning 20, that's when they brought in the 18-year-olds. But, all of a sudden, I'm not playing the power play as much, not getting as much ice time. And he said, John, he called me into his office, said, John, he says, don't worry, you're going to go in the first round. He said, I got 9 other 19-year-olds I got to get drafted. So I said, okay, and you're 17 years old, you're a little gullible, whatever. So, or 18 at the time, or I'm sorry, 19 was my draft year. I do apologize. And, it's your coach, you listen to it and whatever. And it was interesting. They only went 6 rounds that year. In the first round, the Red Wings took Mike Foligno. They didn't have a second round pick. Third round, they ended up taking Boris Fistrick, who never made it, and Jody Gage, who was my roommate in Adirondack. I spent 3 months in the minors, which right now I'm broadcasting with you guys in Lake George, New York. We're out here for about a week, going to watch the solar eclipse. But anyways, Jody Gage never made it, and I was a 4th rounder. And what was interesting about it is I just worked my butt off in training camp, and Bobby Crom, who was the coach at the time, recognized that. And I always believed that Bobby was the one that gave me the shot. I was working hard and getting double shifted during a scrimmage, and I was so tired. He's facing off, and I accidentally tripped and landed on my butt. When I got up, Bobby Crom gave me a wink. And he's the guy that gave me the opportunity, and was kind of validated when, unfortunately, when Bobby passed, his son, Rich Crom, was doing the eulogy, and we talked afterwards. And he said, my dad followed your career. And I go, well, why is that? He said, well, he followed your career because he felt that he was the one that gave you the shot. And that's what it's all about. You know what? You get a coach, you work hard, you get a coach that kind of likes you, they give you that shot. But as Kelly knows, once you get that shot, and that's why I tell kids now, I don't tell them, but what they have to do now, especially when the Red Wings are weak again and these guys are getting called up, you get that opportunity, you got to make most of it. And if you can stick there, you can stick there. But yeah, Bobby Crom helped me out. But again, it's just, in back of my mind at that time, the farm team, before they came here to Adirondack, was in Kalamazoo. And our junior coach, Ernie McLean, was a part-time scout for the Detroit Red Wings. So a lot of guys from the New Westminster Bruins ended up going to Kalamazoo. And I just swore, I said, I'm not going to freaking Kalamazoo. I said, I got to make this team here somehow. And ironically, but they switched from Kalamazoo to here to Glens Falls, or the Adirondack Red Wings.
John Ogrodnick, Kelly Miller, kindly joining us here on What the Puck. Don't forget the alumni game, Wings, Rangers. It is happening April 27th at Big Boy Arena. Make sure you get out there. Not only do you see great hockey, there are going to be so many things around the rink as well. Very fan-friendly. And don't forget, it's for charity as well. And Kelly, our buddy Kirk Hunter, chimed in and said, you were a diamond in the rough. You made a lot of head turns that year, to be sure. Kelly, talk about that transition from you. As you said, you went to Redford, you played for Ron at Michigan State in your backyard, and there you are, a young man heading to Manhattan in the middle of the 80s. What was that transition like?
Oh, that was a crazy one because I finished my senior year. We lost a heartbreaker to Providence. Chris Terreri stood on his head. We outshot him. It was a 2-game total goal series. We beat them the first night 2-1. They beat us the second night 3-1. And both nights he saved 60 shots to about 13 for our goaltenders. And Bob Asenza was our starting goaltender. 2 weeks before the playoffs start, he puts his hand through a glass, and so all of a sudden we were playing our number 2 guy, and so it was devastating. So for me to go from that to getting on a plane and joining the Rangers, my first game was in the Spectrum in Philadelphia, and I just remember Craig Patrick was the general manager. He picked me up at the airport. I got my Michigan State hockey bag, and I'm tramping into the locker room. Never met the guys before, never had a practice. I'm just going right into the game. And it was something else. And actually what I remember about it the most was how nervous and scared you could feel the tension that you could feel in that locker room, because the Spectrum was a tough place to play, and Philadelphia was still an extremely tough team at the time. And that was something that I wasn't used to as a college player. I mean, obviously we had, physical games, but not the level of, what I was going to be facing there. So very, very unique experience and one that I always remember.
Yeah, John, now you spoke, you only spent 3 months in Adirondack. You get called up to the club, to the Wings. Not only do you stick there, but within a few years, you're an all-star. And in 1985, not only an all-star, but a starter and on a line with Wayne Gretzky. What was that experience like, being voted as the starter in an all-star game?
Well, it was awesome, but Sean, you know what? I tell people, and Kelly probably knows this. My stick was shaped like a 7-iron. It had a huge curve in it, and I wasn't a guy that was a dipsy doodler. My whole game was quickness, quick shot, give and go, get in the hole and let it go, and stuff like that. So what really helps out is when I got called up, I was on the left side with Dale McCord, Mike Foligno, and we just worked very well together. And when you connect like that and you've got some unity on the team, cohesiveness and stuff like that, it just makes the game that much easier. And we all just kind of moved the puck, got in the hole, and it all worked out. And I was very fortunate that way. And you know what, and just before I even forget here, when I was in New York, I'm kind of jumping, Bobby, real quick, just so you know, when I was in New York and Kelly Kissa was my center iceman, Kelly got injured, but they called a young kid up from Lansing by the name of Kevin Miller. And Kevin Miller, I tell him this, I kind of embarrass him, but sometimes when I say this, but I truly believe he was second to Adam Oates. Kevin was setting me up left and right. He was so shifty. All I had to do was get in the hole, and he got me the puck, and we connected very well. But getting back to that, yes, you know what? I have to have a line that I can work well with, because I'm not a guy that's going to carry the puck up the ice. It's like basketball. You give it to the guard and let him dribble the ball up and stuff like that. So, and I was fortunate that happened. As far as Gretzky, I was nervous as heck. Good guy, and it was pretty exciting. But that lasted about 20 seconds, and I was happy. They put Messier up there, and I'm like, thank you. Messi can have it, but I got to tell you a quick story if you don't mind me saying this. But you know what? One of the All-Star games were in New Jersey, and I'm outside the bus. We had our morning skate, and I'm signing up, obviously autographs just outside the bus. And all of a sudden, Gretz walks by, grabs the Sharpie out of my hand, and just starts scribbling his autograph, and boom, gets on the bus. I go, okay, well, whatever. And I met Gretz in Australia back in 2016 for a charity hockey tournament out there, and he was in Sydney, and we have some Cokes together, Coca-Colas, as Mickey would say, together. And I said, you know what? I had a lot of respect for him because he did that. But when we were on the bus going back to the hotel, he came up to me in the bus and he apologized. And I understand where he's coming from. If he would have stopped to sign autographs, he wouldn't have got out of that parking lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know what? I thought it was first class on Gretzen's part. He come up and he apologized and he explained it. I said, hey, no problems and stuff like that. But a lot of class there. But I was nervous, Sean. I was very nervous.
Two classy guys here. You can see them and a ton of stars out at Big Boy Arena. Red Wings alumni taking Rangers alumni on. It is April 27th, Big Boy Arena. Make sure you get out there. The first one was outstanding against the Bruins. This promises to be even better. Kelly, it had to be a transition for you. I mean, one season you and the Rangers are in the Wales Conference Finals. And for the kids out there, there was once the Wales and the Campbell. We'll clear that up. You guys unfortunately ran into a very hot Patrick Waugh in the Habs that year. And then the next year, you're off to Washington. And both of you guys had an unbelievable experience in that 87 playoff. But we were talking before, Kelly, this is one of those games for my generation. Everybody knows where they were at. The Easter Sunday, because it did eventually end early Easter Sunday morning, the 4 overtime game between the Capitals and the Islanders. I know it stinks to be on the losing end of that, but I mean, just one of those games that everybody seems to talk about. What are your memories from that one, Kelly?
Just trying to keep going. I mean, and probably the biggest memory is what a football match it turned out to be. The 4 overtimes, there was not one penalty called in 4 overtimes. Now, how does that happen? Nice. So whenever you were going to the net, you better get it off quick because you're going to get tackled. You're going to get pulled down. And it was just, it's one of those crazy games where you're just trying to survive. You're trying to, just think about the next shift, think about the next shift. And, and unfortunately somebody's got to lose at some point. And it's a shame that we had to lose 4 overtimes into it. So, it was a great experience, but it's also very difficult to lose after going through something like that.
If you don't mind, Kelly, if you don't mind, if you would have got by that round, did you guys feel that you could have went a long ways?
I think that we had some really good teams. We had great defensemen. We had the Rod Langways, Larry Murphys, Scott Stevens, guys like that were just, dynamite. And so I think at that time, we had a young goaltender in Bob Mason playing the nets. I think it would have been very difficult to get, to go all the way because I think you need a special goaltender to win the Stanley Cup. And I think Bob was good. I think he was just young. And, I thought he played really well. But, it takes something extra special if you're going to win those series. So, But yeah.
Very quick, Kelly, you were part of 2 of those marathon games. I mean, for people out there, that's one our generation remembers, but you were part of another one as well.
Yeah. Lucky me. The second time was against Pittsburgh Penguins. And, again, just battles and we were at one time up in the series, I think 3-1, and then they came roaring back. And then we played this, great game 7 where, again, I'm on the losing end, but it's in 4 overtimes. It just tremendous games. And, when you're playing against Lemieux and Yager and guys like that and trying to keep them off the sheet, for 4 overtimes, that's a tough thing. But again, I don't think there was a penalty called the whole overtime, any of the overtime. So, anyways, but it was a great experience. And unfortunately, both times I ended up on the wrong end of things.
If we go back to 1987, John, you took place in a playoff series, Quebec, Montreal. We had Chris Nyland on. He said it's probably the most intense rivalry in hockey. I watched some highlights of that series, and that was a mean-looking series. What is your memories of that epic series?
What I remember, again, for me, it was exhilarating because, 7 years in Detroit at that point, 7 seasons anyways, we only made the playoffs once, so we ended up losing to St. Louis back in 84, 85. But just to be able, the talent we had on our team with Michel Goulet and Dale Hunter and, the Stachny brothers. And I was pretty optimistic that, we get by Montreal. I'm not saying we would have won the cup, but you know what? You get the momentum going, and who knows what happens in the playoffs, as we know. But it was just exhilarating. And I say this also, and there's no ego here when I say this. A lot of times they'll measure goal scorers on what they do in the playoffs. And I was very proud of that. And again, it has nothing to do with an ego. It's just, that's what they expected of goal scorers. But if my numbers are accurate, both Michel Goulet and I had, I think, 9 goals in 13 games in the playoffs between Hartford and Montreal. But I can tell you this, when I was in Detroit and we went into Montreal, I was lucky if I got 3 shots on net. When I was with the Nordiques, with the talent we had, and you can't check, we had 3 lines that could score, so you can't check all 3 lines. Definitely had a lot more scoring opportunities and was able to score a lot more than when I was with Detroit, just with the depth and stuff like that. But I tell people it's the first time I experienced, and Kelly obviously experienced it frequently than I did my first 7 years. It's the first time I experienced a dressing room packed with reporters. I'm like, wow, you know what? And but it was disheartening. You lose in 7. Like I said, you know what? I thought we had them. We ended up losing. Their heads were sagging a little bit, and one bad goal and one questionable call by the famous Kerry Fraser, just allowing a goal. The whole momentum changed, but that's hockey.
Was that Elaine Cote? I'm testing my geekdom memory. Was it Cote that scored that goal where they waved it off, John?
It was Cote, and I believe it was, get them mixed up, I think it was Paul Gillis.
Okay.
Went towards the net. So he goes towards the net. The defenseman was on one side of him, and then he had the goaltender. So the defenseman was between the goaltender and the player. And I can't remember who, it wasn't Patrick Watt this time. I can't remember who the goaltender was, but he kind of did a Dino Cicerelli where he kind of got bumped and did the triple flip in the net. And Kerry Fraser, I ran into him in New York at a couple charity golf out, and he said, John, I had to call it. It just looked bad. I go, jeepers creepers. But I guess he still, at that point, he said he was still getting flack from the Quebec fans. The French are very emotional. Yeah, they weren't happy when I got asked to get traded, and I was at the Rangers, and I was fortunate when it was Kissio and Mullen. I got because I had a couple bad years under Phil, and I just couldn't find a line that we had chemistry. But anyways, so I ended up having a 40-42 goal year that year, and because of the line I was with. But I tell you what, I was leaving the game at the Colisée, and the French people were swearing at me. They were calling me names. They were so upset that I left Quebec. They're very emotional, and I give them credit for that. I really do. And I hope they get another franchise up there because they do love their hockey.
No doubt. John Ogrodnick, Kelly Miller kindly joining us again. April 27th, Rangers, Red Wings alumni game. I have a feeling there are a few more of these coming down the line. Kelly, when I look back to those Washington teams that you played for, you guys always had good teams. You were always good. It just seemed when the playoff came, for one reason or another, you just couldn't seal the deal. You couldn't find a way to win the East until 1998. And, earlier you talked about having a special goaltender. You guys had a pretty special goaltender that year, as I recall, in Ole, the goalie. It didn't win in a Stanley Cup championship, but talk about that run that you guys had in 98. And wouldn't you know it, taking on the Detroit Red Wings in the final.
Well, that, you hit it on the head when you mentioned Ole Kolzig. I mean, Ole, the goalie, was so good. And he to me was the difference, in terms of when I look back at the other years. I mean, we just couldn't get a goaltender that could get hot like Ole did. And Ole was just unstoppable until the Red Wings. And the Red Wings they had just a tremendous team. I mean, they were so deep. You talk about turning points. First game we lost. Second game, we're winning 3-1, and Esa Tikkanen comes down, and this is like in the third period, and he gets by the goalie. Shoot, you guys know who the goalie is.
Osgood.
Yeah, and so put it and miss and put it behind him and miss the net. I mean, he had an open net, missed the net. They literally come down on that same rush and scored to make it 3-2. Then they tie it up, and then at that point, there was no stopping them. But, I don't know if that would have been a turning point, but it sure would have been nicer to go back 1-1 versus 0-2 in that series. But, goaltending is so huge in the playoffs. And if you've got somebody that just gives you confidence that you can make a mistake and it's not going to end up in your net like Ole can, that's what you need.
All right, John, back to you. We've heard you talk about your trade from Quebec to the Rangers a couple of times, and I saw an interview from a couple of years ago. And did I hear right that there was a possibility of it not being the Rangers, that you could have went to Pittsburgh and played with Mario Lemieux?
Yeah, what happened was this is after I was traded to the Nordiques. And like I said, guys, I mean, I love the hockey. The hockey was excellent. It was fun. It was awesome, and I was probably very naive. I'm 27, 28. I was worried about life after hockey, because we didn't make the $1 million salaries or anything like that. And, between that and, looking for work after hockey, making connections, then you got the tax bracket, then you got the language barrier. And unfortunately, Quebec City at that time, they just didn't want to speak English. So there's a lot of factors that were involved. So I'd asked to get traded, and my agent said, "Well, John," he says, what, Pittsburgh's interested and the Rangers are interested. Where would you like to go?" And I talked to my wife Betty Ann about it, and we decided to go to New York. And I tell you guys, again, this is hockey stories. When you have a couple cokes with people and stuff like that, but. I tell people, and Betty Ann agrees, it was the best 5 years of our life. We lived in Connecticut on a couple of acres of land, practiced at Rye Playland, Madison Square Garden. Like Wayne Gretzky said, every player's got to be, have the ability to, or the chance to play in New York. Kelly, you probably experienced it. One negative part about it was they really had the bad ice. It was like playing with tennis ball out there. The ice would just chip apart and, break up. And I remember when I was a kid, Dale Rolfe was a defenseman, I believe, for the Rangers. He ended up breaking his ankle because of the bad ice there and stuff like that. And James Patrick made a comment to the reporters after one game, and he took a lot of hell from the upper management, saying you can't be cutting up our ice, and no pun intended. You can't be talking badly about our ice. And Jeep, I guess he kind of got disciplined, if you want to say, by making those comments. But aside from that, hockey was fun. Same thing. We won the President's Trophy 1 year, and we get by the first round, and without mentioning names, we're playing the Islanders, and you could just see it coming, where one of the defensemen just made a bad pinch. And I'm like, oh no, you could just see it coming. And sure enough, the Islanders go down 2-1, they score. And again, like you're saying, the whole momentum changes again. But it was good. You know what? And I'm not knocking Detroit. That's why, I retired in Detroit. We live in Farmington Hills, and it's a great hockey city and all that. But we all know you play sports, you want to win. You want to have fun. You want to be on a winning team. And people ask me, where's the best city you played? Well, you know what? Quebec was great because of the hockey, and New York was great to live out there. Live in Connecticut, 2.5 hours away from Lake George, New York, where I'm at right now. And you had decent teams, and you had fun. And Kelly knows this. You know what? When you're winning or you got a good team, the whole atmosphere in the dressing room is different. Everybody gets along, and I kind of joke, even the wives get along. Kind of exaggerating there, but.
All right, we got a couple minutes left. I want to ask both of you, and then I know Mike's got a follow-up question. Is there a goalie, Kelly, we'll start with you. Is there a goalie that just had your number? And a lot of times you'll ask a guy, and, you expect to hear the big names, but sometimes it's not the big names, a guy that just owned you. Kelly, was there a guy in the National Hockey League that just had your number? You couldn't figure him out?
I think all of them had my number, to be honest with you. I mean, I wasn't a goal scorer like John. Sure. I could put the puck in the net, but took a lot of work and took a lot of effort. And, I spent most of my time in the corners, mucking around, grinding it out, and getting it to guys like John who can put it in. For me, I played with guys like Pierre LaRouche, Dino Ciccarelli, and when you can play with a goal scorer and get them the puck, those guys know how to beat all the goalies. I had to get a lot of crap around the net and, rebounds and stuff like that. There wasn't really, they were all tough to me.
How about you, Johnny?
No, not really a goaltender. You know what? The whole idea was quick release, shoot, whatever, don't give the goaltender time to set up. I just remember, again, I'm going to the Detroit days. It was more the team you played against. Like if you played against the Oilers, you know what, you knew you're going to get 10 scoring opportunities. We'd lose 8-5 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I got to say, as a team as a whole, including the goaltending, for the longest time until I left Detroit, was playing against the Montreal Canadiens, you know, with Larry Robinson and those guys, Brian Engblom, and we couldn't get a sniff. And I'd be lucky if I got 3 shots on net. And, you know, and like Kelly was saying earlier, old time hockey, when you went to the Rangers after college, and you guys know this, Sean and Mike, I mean, it was all clutch and grab and hooking and holding. And, you know, I go wide on Moose Dupont when he's with Nordiques, and he just friggin' 2-hands me over the wrist. I felt like saying, "Oh, sorry, Mr. Dupont. I'm sorry. My wrist in your way here, sir." He was at the end of his career, and I was and I'm not embellishing. We only had the one ref, and he was still at the other end. These are all capped, and the guy that knocked him out didn't even get a penalty.
All right, last word, Mike.
Last word. This goes to John. John, you're one of 6 Red Wings to score 50 goals, and the Red Wing fans now are dying. Do the Red Wings today have a 50-goal scorer on their roster? And if you think so, who is it?
You know what? I don't know at this point, but I'm going to tell you the way he started off. I thought maybe Brinkett would have a shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what did he get? Like 12 goals or 20 goals or whatever it was, 15 goals in the first 10, whatever it was. And the guy's a goal scorer and stuff like that. But you know what? I guess what happens is, you know, they get scouted. You know what? They know where he likes to shoot from, and they try and take that position away from him. But I thought maybe he got off to such a hard, you know, quick start. I thought, you know, maybe this guy's got the shot. You know, maybe he can do it and stuff like that. I love Larkin as a hockey player, but you know, sometimes they say in today's game, you know, it's tough to score 50. But then I look around the league, and there, you correct me if I'm wrong. You guys know the stats better than I do, but there's a few guys above 50 at this point. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So it's just a different game out there. But no, I don't see right now with the Red Wings.
Great stuff, guys. We could sit here and talk to you all night, but we appreciate it and certainly look forward to seeing you and so many former Ranger stars and Red Wing stars April 27th at Big Boy Arena. I'm going to say it again. I don't think enough is said about it. The Detroit Red Wings Alumni Association does such a great job getting out in the community, giving back to the community, and this is a special one, taking on the Rangers. You can see these 2 guys and a ton of stars out there, to be sure. Fellas, look forward to it. Thank you so much for chatting, and we'll see you April 27th out at Big Boy Arena.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Sean and Mike, and thanks for the plug. You know what? It's going to be awesome. You guys are going to have a lot of fun, and the fans will.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Kelly Miller, John Ogrodnick. Kelly Miller, over 1,000 games in his career. Johnny Ogrodnick, 928, over 400 goals, Mike, over 800 points, 55 goals in 85. Remember it plain as day.
And I'm not afraid to say that when I was shooting tennis balls against my neighbor in the driveway, I was John Ogrodnick.
Yeah.
That shot that he had was something that we hadn't seen. Like you said, the Red Wings finally make the playoffs. He was a key part of that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. 2 classy guys. And come on, you know, listen, Miller's Spartan all day, right?
Yes,
I mean,
100%.
what 1,111 different Millers at Michigan State? Is that the number we're at right now?
1,112.
Okay, 1,112. Well, in the interest of being fair as well, we wanted to give a little love to the Michigan side of things. Congratulations to Coach Naranjo and the Wolverines for knocking off Michigan State, of course, in the playoff. And this lady knows a little something about Michigan hockey as well, not only as a player, but the head coach of the ACHA Michigan Wolverines. And listen, I point blank, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed.
Yep.
I want to hear that change real soon, okay? I really do. But let's welcome Jenna Trubiano, kindly joining us here on What the Puck. And Jenna, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us here on What the Puck. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Now, Jenna, I'm going to start right there because, I was telling you in text, I've been fortunate. I've done so many different broadcasts. I've never, ever, ever experienced something like U.S. Canada in the Women's World Championship. And when I hear people talk about great rivalries in sports, it goes through one ear and out the other, because there is nothing in sports today like U.S. Canada in women's hockey. No doubt about that. And anything that we can do to help bring Division I hockey to our great state and to a wonderful university like the University of Michigan, we're going to do that. Is it close to being a reality? And I guess what's taken everybody so long?
Yeah, it's the $1 million question. And I think we're definitely looking in the right direction now, as a result of the Regents meeting last week, which was Thursday. There were some public comments that went on the record, about the need and the demand for a Division I women's ice hockey program at the University of Michigan, which I've been around for 10 going on 11 years at the University of Michigan. It really feels like the first time there's a formal push. So back in the late 90s, there was a formal push. I was 2-3 years old at the time, so I don't quite remember it. But I think we're closer than we've ever been, but obviously there's a lot of steps and things that need to happen in order to make this a reality. But yeah, I'm definitely supportive of it as well with the PWHL. That's really helped. And obviously having the game in Detroit on March 16th, I was fortunately able to attend that game, and it broke a U.S. world record. So I think that shows demand right there from my perspective.
And it is shocking with all the great youth girls hockey that we have in the area that we don't have a D1 program. I see the Little Caesars jersey hanging in the back there. My daughter played at Honey Baked. I apologize for that. But I want to know, I'm interested, where did you get started? Because it's not every day that our young girls are getting introduced to the game of hockey.
Yeah, I had probably a more non-traditional path. I didn't come from a hockey family. I grew up rollerblading, and actually I wanted to play basketball for Michigan State up until about 6th grade. Wow. When I started playing hockey. And what really drew me to the sport, the Red Wings were phenomenal at the time, and Henrik Zetterberg made a move across the blue line, and they kept debating if it was onside or offsides, and it went through this whole debate. And I told my dad, like, I want to do that. And he looked at me and he's like, well, you have to learn how to skate first. So I went through the Learn to Skate program at Mount Clemens Ice Arena. I was the oldest kid there, one of the only girls, and ended up trying out for a team. I didn't think my name was on the list. I just accepted that I was probably the worst one on the ice, and was walking out of the arena, and my mom said, you got to go look at the list, because I don't know what they do anymore, but they would just post a list on like a locker room door, and your name would be on it or your name would not be on it. And my name was the last one on the list. So somebody gave me an opportunity, and I fortunately, my first year of 16U, tried out for Little Caesars, and I made that team. And that's sort of when I realized, like, okay, this is something I want to do in college, and went through the process of looking at what schools had NCAA Division I or Division III women's hockey. Never knew anything about the ACHA, and everything I knew was from my coaches at that point. And yeah, I applied to Michigan, and then found out there was a women's ice hockey program, and academically it checked all the boxes for me. So I'm still here. I don't have anything green and white anymore, but everything's maize and blue. I wouldn't change it for the world, though.
Oh, I think that's awesome. Jenna Trubiano, again, former player and now the coach of the Michigan's ACHA hockey team. For the people out there that aren't familiar, Jenna, can you explain to people what the ACHA is? Because I think now that this has gotten in the mainstream now, and we're seeing the reports about the Regents and things like that. And I think the question from a lot of people that maybe don't follow hockey like we do is, why hasn't this happened? And what is this ACHA thing? Can you explain it for somebody out there that maybe doesn't understand how that works?
I'm going to do my best. So the ACHA is the American Collegiate Hockey Association. It is branded as a non-varsity hockey league. So basically, some teams view it, or some universities view it, as like an NCAA competitor. But for our program, because we're a club program at the University of Michigan, we do not fall within athletics. We fall within the academic side of the university, because athletics and the University of Michigan athletic or academic side of things, they're very separate at the University of Michigan, where other schools, they're more intertwined. So we fall within club sports. And with that, we don't receive any help with admissions. We're fully self-funded. We do receive minimal support from the university, and President Ono has been very generous in helping with our ice bill at Yosei Arena the past 2 seasons, which has helped our program tremendously and allowed us to continue to grow. But really the difference between us and even an NCAA Division III program is that we're not associated with athletics at all. We run through club sports, and we are at the university what they say. So we are able to wear the Block M. When we travel and compete, we do represent the University of Michigan. There are requirements that our students have to meet academically. They have to do a lot of paperwork to make sure that they're in compliance with all the club sport rules. And we have like a student elected board within our team members that manages really all the behind the scenes paperwork to make sure everybody on our team is good to go and good to compete. So we do most everything ourselves, which is really unique. And that's actually something that drew me to our program at the University of Michigan, because I knew I could get involved in hockey without, having to have graduated, or, just from a coaching side of things. It really gave me insight as to, what all goes into social media. And that's something that I started initiating in 2013, is creating our Instagram page. And now we have almost 12,000 followers, which is more than some varsity programs at Michigan and many other women's Division I varsity programs. So it's really exciting to see the interest and growth in our program.
That's excellent. I want to get to a very important topic. As a girl dad, and as a girl dad that played hockey, I think it's very important that you face some adversity. You were harassed on the ice by some men. And could you go through this and how you handled it, which I thought was great? And then any advice you will have, because unfortunately you're not the first, and it's not going to be the last time that a young lady is harassed on the ice. Any advice you would have for someone that has to face this in the future?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think it took off for a little bit, but obviously there's been some discussion with our program. So the incident that happened, and when I did talk about it and decided to talk about it, I never wanted to talk about, who, what, where, and when, because it was never my intent to say, hey, these group of men did this to me and that's wrong. For me, it was about the bigger picture and really wondering why in 2024, a 29-year-old woman is being harassed on the ice when a lot of these men have daughters themselves. Some of them have wives. So for me, it was just like, why is this still happening? And kind of digging into that a little bit. Obviously, I've reflected on this event, and I've talked about it. But for me, coming forward with my story, and again, not sharing the video, that was something that was important to me, because the intent was never to call a group of individuals out. It was more of bringing awareness and attention that this happened to me. And like you said, it's happening elsewhere and it's not being talked about enough. I know when I was playing on a high school boys team and I had to get dressed in like the figure skating closet or the ref room, and the rink required me to put a pink sign on the door that said girls dressing room. And boys would constantly knock on the door or try and open it, like trying to see me change. And there was no action taken by the parents or the coaches. And, when you're the only girl or one of the few girls in a predominantly male sport, and maybe based on where you're located, like that's the only option for you to participate and be on a team, a lot of people don't want to speak up because they don't want to be retaliated against. And I don't know if you have anything to comment on that.
No, I I am sitting back. I think I can speak for everybody else, Jenna. You hear this stuff. The first thing that pops into my mind is I read the story, and the story, obviously went viral for good reason. Did any of these guys eventually apologize to you? Have you received the apology that you did not get that night?
I have not received an apology.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna try to spin this back to a happy thing, because I think everybody and their brother is rooting for you, rooting for the University of Michigan, and the term leaders and best. I have a feeling if it happens for you guys, you're going to see the dominoes start to fall at other places too. What can we do as hockey fans, regardless of gender? Okay, what can we do as hockey fans to help speed this process up, to get the word out there that this is something that there's a market for this? There are people, great spokespeople for the game, like yourself. Megan Keller's a local person who's been wonderful for the game. What can the average person do out there to say, you know what, this is something as fans we want to see?
I think for those that are relatively local to Ann Arbor, or even if we're traveling, I'm really excited about our game schedule for next season. And the more people that come to our games, the better. It's a better experience for our student athletes. And something that I think President Ono talked about during the Regents meeting, he basically called out people to support our program and to come to our games. And I thought that was really cool that the president of the University of Michigan is telling people, like, hey, you should go to these games. Like, it's a great opportunity to witness, something in the making. So I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, there are barriers associated with that. Something I've learned, social media has a huge impact on our program and educating others. So there are barriers with, being able to make it to Ann Arbor, or sometimes our games are at weird times. But if people have like a social media account and they can promote our content, that helps as well, because I didn't even know Michigan had a women's ice hockey team. Like, I had no idea. And I think my mom found it on Facebook and was like, oh, one of your teammates from 12U is actually on the team, on the roster. And I was like, oh, like, that's super cool. So I think just building that education and awareness around our program is something that's really important. So yeah, those are two, I think, fairly simple ways that people can support us. If somebody wanted to purchase like a Michigan women's hockey t-shirt, we do have an online store, and we receive a certain percentage back donated directly to our program. So even like if somebody's wearing Michigan women's hockey and they take a picture and post it on social media, that's really great for us too, because it sort of starts this domino effect. So those are really the three most simple ways I can think of supporting our program. I think with our schedule coming out, I'm really excited once things get solidified, because I'm just really excited. I can't share any specific details, but I'm working on some things behind the scenes. I'd love to see as many people in Yost as possible, because like I said, it makes it a really great experience for our student athletes. And again, just like the PWHL game in Detroit, it shows that there is a market for women's hockey at the University of Michigan, or in the Ann Arbor area or Metro Detroit area.
Well, Mike doesn't know this yet, but he's going to go to some games with me. He doesn't. He just found that out. We're going to be two of those people that are going to take you up on your challenge. And I can show everybody, go to Twitter right now, or go to your social media. And there it is right there. I'm following. Let me get it right. MICHW hockey. Go follow them right stinking now, and support the game. The game. And the game doesn't know sex. The game doesn't know gender. This is supporting the game of hockey. And that's certainly what Mike and I are here to do.
Can I give her a big thank you? So when I was doing my research for this interview, I came across some videos from the coaches clinic. and on the Coaches Clinic site. And I have to thank you for the hours of entertainment that was on there, because you don't know this, but my son was one of the players that you were running through the drills, and he got absolutely walked in the drill coming out of the corner, and it was excellent. Poor Sebastiano, I'm never going to let him live it down, but there it was. I'm like, there's Sebi. And oh my God, did he just get walked? Replay. So I have to thank
That's
you.
amazing. Yeah, that the coaches site's a great event in Ann Arbor too.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're working on something with them as well. So definitely stay tuned.
Hopefully he'll get a chance to be part of your drill again this year.
Our buddy Ben also wanted to add, you can catch the U of M women's games and coaches show through Arbor Broadcasting on Twitter.
Yes.
Mark does a good job as their play-by-play guy. I saw him out in Brighton. He did a fantastic job. I appreciate his passion. And Jenna, I'm sure that you can vouch for that.
Yes, and I did forget to mention that if people are unable to make our game, Arbor Broadcasting does stream our games, and they are free. So you would not have to pay for a subscription, and that's something that he's really passionate about. We also, during the season, do a coaches show. Last season, it was every Wednesday at 6:00 at Regents Field in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is right on Main Street, which was really cool to have a presence on Main Street. So I'm hoping we'll be able to continue that into next season as well.
Here's some love for you, Jenna. Matt Parker said, shout out to you guys for getting one of the best coaches on your podcast. So
Matt's great too. You should have Matt on your podcast. He's up at Lake State.
Matt, we can talk about that, Matt. Your people call my people. No, we can work something like that. Jenna, I promise you're going to see he and I at your games next year. I can also promise you, no disrespect, I'll be the guy wearing green and white, but I'm supporting the game of hockey, and that's the most important thing. You guys get that D1 team. It's be the first to fall, and I have a feeling a lot more dominoes will fall after that.
Yeah, that would be fantastic for the state. I think we definitely need it.
All right. So, though, and Jenna, I think you can attest to this. When we go to the game, we've got to go to Blimpie Burger.
Okay.
And we've got to go at least with a Quint, a 5-patty burger.
Okay. That sounds
Have
good with me. Yes. I'm familiar with the work.
Oh,
yes.
very
I'm
good.
familiar with the work.
I love it.
And anything we can do to help you out, I am being very, very serious. Anything we can do to help spread the word, Twitter, all the social media, don't hesitate to reach out. This is great for the game of hockey, period. And you are great for the game of hockey. Appreciate everything you're doing at Michigan, Jenna.
Thank you. I appreciate the time and appreciate the kind words as well.
All right. Best of luck to you. And hopefully we'll have some good news soon, right?
Absolutely.
Jenna Trubiano, the head coach.
Yes. I still can't believe there's not a D1 program with all the, like I said, I've played for 10 years in this area between Bell Tire, Caesars, Honey Baked, all the teams and all the talent that's here. Those girls are going to St. Cloud, Wisconsin, and all these schools. I guarantee they'd stay home to play. I know you know this because I told you this. So I don't want Jenna or anybody else out there to think that I'm pandering to the crowd. I remember calling you. I did all those women's world championship games at USA Hockey Arena. That atmosphere. Yeah. That, I think it was a Friday night. That atmosphere at USA Hockey Arena for USA Canada, nothing like it. Yep. Nothing. And okay, here's the idiot braggadocious part of the show. I've done NHL games. I've done Division I games. I've done OHL games. I've done broadcasts everywhere. I've never seen an atmosphere like that. And that's why I'm saying when I hear people talk about great rivalries today, everything is second to US and Canada. Everything is second. The vitriol, is that a word? Visceral, is that it?
The vitriol, visceral vitriol, the anger, everything. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
And it's always been there, and it's just getting better. And I think the women's game helps accentuate that.
Why is he laughing?
He's because he's going to correct
our
grammar.
Did we screw something up?
What did we do?
When I see Blake laughing, what did I screw up now?
It's pronounced vitriol.
Vitriol.
I was close.
He was way closer than me.
Vitriol? What did I say?
You said that.
That sounds like something after taking Vitriol. You have something that lasts for more than 8 hours. Contact a doctor.
And Blake, stay tuned. I have a bet that I'm going to put out there, and I'll see if you like it.
I can't wait.
All right. Unsyndicated looked it up and said definitions of abusive or venomous language used to express blame or censure or bitter, deep-seated ill will. So at least I got the word kind of right.
Yeah,
What the definition was, I saw it at USA Hockey Arena that day.
I'm telling you, I have a graduate degree. I've got a master's degree, but I'm probably third grade in English. My grammar is ridiculous. So I'm not even going to go there with that one. So where do we go now?
Where do you want to go? You know what I need to do? Blake's probably yelling at me. Can I tell you about one of our friends? Can I start with Legacy? These guys are going to be out there on Friday. More on where we're going to be on Friday. We're going to be at Batch Brewing, but Joe and Alex and Dave, they're all going to be out there. I'm going to have them come on, talk about their excitement for the Tigers, and maybe you can take them up on their generous offer. Call them, get yourself a free quote, because thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance. Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents and provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large or small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get you the right coverage put in place to properly protect you, and of course, save you money. What are you waiting for? Get your quote right now. It doesn't cost you anything. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're paying too much and you could be underinsured. Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, your business insurance needs. They got your back. Call them today, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Jim said, great Avalanche cap.
Thank you.
All right. So can I say this? I was so respectful of our guest, Jenna. I hope she knows this.
Yeah.
I couldn't wear the Habs cap,
right,
because, well, in particular, Johnny O.
Yeah.
He had his heart broken by the Habs in 87. Okay.
Absolutely.
And Miller did the year before in the Wales Conference Finals.
And
remember that's when
you very professionally brought that up and dropped that on him too, by the way.
Do you remember how nuts Wah was in that? And then do you remember who scored the overtime goal?
Of course I don't.
It was Claude Lemieux.
Lemieux.
There was a 2-on. There was a 2-on-0. There was a 2-on-0. McPhee threw it over to Lemieux, and he put it right over Beezer's shoulder. Remember, they were going back and forth with Froze and Beezer.
Look,
that particular year.
Again, playoffs. Claude Lemieux.
He was unbelievable. He was unbelievable. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup final, they won 1-0. The only goal scorer, Claude Lemieux. But yeah, that was Wah's real coming out party, and that, you used to see that. Remember, they put those games on Instant Classic or whatever it's called. What was that channel called?
It was ESPN Instant Classic.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it was
that was always on, because he stood on top of his head against Rangers. But I couldn't wear the Michigan State hat out of respect to Jenna, and I couldn't wear the Habs hat, so I went with treetops. But look at you sporting your little Avs hat.
I got the Avs hat. I'm trying to add to my my hat collection here. You know me. I'm very routine. I get one hat and I'll wear it to death.
What if I got you a certain hat that maybe had blue blanc et rouge on
I'd wear it.
I'd
wear it. I'd love it.
All right.
I would love it.
It'd be great.
I think that is just, and this isn't just for you. I mean, that is just a classic. And you know
it
that.
Sure is.
You know, I mean,
sure
I've told
is.
you a story of not only did I lose a Stefan Richer jersey, one of the greatest stories ever, but my Steve Penny Habs jersey was stolen. I think it was in 7th grade. I had a Steve Penny jersey stolen out of my locker.
Can we tell the Stefan Richer jersey story? Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, why not?
So didn't we have the name of the league? We named it something, right? It wasn't there
that
I forget. There was a dumb name of our league, but we'd basically play in the alley of Little Caesars, right? We were the biggest losers. We kept stats. Like it was so depressing. And one night, like all the kids that went away to school, we were such losers. This was like our hangout spot. And we would play like hockey until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Easy.
And one of the kids came back from school and he's wearing a jersey, and New Jersey Devils, numero 44, Stefan Richer jersey.
Unbelievable.
And he takes one look at it. He goes, dude, that's my jersey. Well, because we're both wiseacres, right? This kid had no reason to believe us. None, because we pulled so many shenanigans and everything. But you said it would. Didn't you say, okay, on the inside there's like writing or something? What was the the hook?
Not only that, there was something on the inside, but I knew exactly where he found it because I was playing in a floor hockey league up at Eastern Michigan, and I was goalie, and I was just hot as could be. So I took it off, and I knew exactly where I'd left it, exactly where he had found it, and I described all that in the inside of the jersey. And he's like, "Oh my god."
And he but he was kind of, I remember he's like, gosh damn it. He took the jersey off and like kind of threw it at Mike because he liked the jersey.
It was like
a nice jersey. Right. So yeah, that's the way it went. Who is that?
That is,
announce it.
Connor Hewlett has.
Oh, good for Connor. Way to go.
The NA3. I got to get
way to go. Good kid, good family, right?
Yep.
Getting his tender.
Yep. He tendered with the Hawks in the NA3. So that is excellent.
So we talked about something last week, and I listen, I still don't know if I believe it, but for the Red Wing fans out there, you know, Tammy and all the Red Wing fans out there, I'm sure you saw the reports. Detroit Hockey Now, run by two guys that don't throw things against the wall. I mean, Duff and Kevin Allen do such a great job. But there were reports out there and some sources saying that maybe, just maybe, Coach Lalonde is in trouble. It is amazing what happens when you make a few phone calls, because I'm going to tell you point blank, there were a couple people that said nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. And there were a couple people that said there is something wrong. And it's funny, Mike and I have been talking about it for weeks. Something looks different, something looks off, okay? The one thing that I loved what Duffer wrote is anybody that tells you that they know what Steve Yzerman is doing, I'm paraphrasing now. These are my words. They're lying, because Steve doesn't get that information out there. Steve does not get that information out there. Period. End of story. He keeps everything close to the vest. It is going to be interesting to see, especially how the Red Wings finish this season. It's going to be interesting to see if there's any validity to this. Coach Lalonde might be in hot water stuff.
Well, I mean, there's the hints that we've been talking about from the press conferences to the play on the ice, but I think you mentioned it with Blake last night. I think the big tell is going to be Patrick Kane, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does he do? Does he not sign? If Lalonde comes back, does he not sign? If Lalonde is gone, does he sign? Those are all going to be the beginning signs of what's going on there. But all we can do is guess, right? All we can do is guess of what we are assuming is happening in that locker room and what it looks like. And the biggest thing that comes to me when I see it is another coach right now that is just sticking out like a sore thumb on the opposite of it, and that's John Tortorella.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can look at what John Tortorella has done in the last, let's say, 2 to 4 weeks, he announces a captain, Couturier, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 games later, what does he do?
Benches him.
He benches him. He health bombs him for not 1, but 2 games. Okay. That is a veteran coach that he grates everybody wrong. He's got that Scotty Bowman in him, right? He grates them wrong. What he needs in that locker room is a strong captain that those guys know he's not in the coach's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the exact opposite of what we have here in Detroit. And what we have in Detroit is Lalonde. And to me, he comes off as a player's coach, and that's the toughest coach to be, because you have to have the other end of it, right?
It's funny you say that. And I never, ever will give up sources. Never, ever, ever. It's never going to happen. Do you know, and I may have told you this privately, okay? A prominent Red Wing told me Dave Lewis was never going to work. Never going to work.
100%. That's exactly
and
right.
I had a feeling what the reasoning would be. But I had to ask. I said, why was Dave Lewis never going to work? He goes, he was the good cop.
Yes.
Everybody loved Louis.
Yes.
Louis was one of the boys. Louis was the buffer between hard ass Scotty Bowman and the boys.
Yeah.
And he said, it's sad, but that's the reality. Louis was never going to work.
And for that to work, you've got to have a strong captain that's going to be able to unify that team, at least with them, and show the guys that he's not the coach's boy, right? It's not a shot at Dylan Larkin. That's just not who he is, in my opinion, in that locker room. So it's kind of in shambles all over the place. I can't say it's the worst, or I can't point fingers and say it's this fault or that fault, but it's just not a strong locker room, it appears to me right now. And that's where you get those rumors. The Berube rumors are coming. They're on social media now. They're all over. I think he would fit into that role.
Eric with an A said he has 0 prior head coaching experience in the NHL. I would keep him on a short leash as a result. If you look at Steve Yzerman's hiring history, going back to his time with Tampa, remember he was the guy. Guy Boucher was the next hot name. He was, a lot of people felt he was kind of like the coach in waiting in Montreal, and he went and scooped him up. And then he hired John Cooper, and then he hired Lalonde. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, and it wouldn't be the first time, because again, nobody knows what Steve Yzerman is going to do. He does that on purpose. He's one of the best at keeping things close to the vest. If I were a betting man, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't hire a guy with this being his first year experience. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
No,
I don't think, honestly, I don't think Berube would fit here. Just one man's opinion. I don't think he'd fit here.
I think me and you are on the same page of the direction that it could go. And I think that direction would be the number 2 guy from the last round of interviews where Lalonde got the job. And I think there's a few little fan rumor type things that I would love to start if that ever happened, with players that could come in with some grit that this team needs. So we'll save that for another day, because right now we have a coach and we have the possibility of making the playoffs. My question to you right now is, does making the playoffs keep Lalonde's job?
No, I don't think that necessarily is the case.
That scares me.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't.
Okay.
I could be wrong. It is disconcerting how they've played the last month, and the moments of, I mean, we've talked about it. We've talked about it here. We've talked about it with you guys. I don't think that necessarily saves his job. I've gone on record, and I still feel this way. I don't think he's going to get rid of him. Just one man's. It's just 1,000% opinion. There is nothing in there. I cannot stress that enough. Capital N, nothing in there that says I'm privy to any information. I just have a feeling Lalonde gets one more year. He might be a dead man walking next year. He might be a dead man walking, but I have a feeling he gets one more year.
What if Patrick Kane looks you in the eye as the GM, the pretend GM, and says,
all bets are off.
All bets are off.
Yeah.
Because
it's something like that.
With the way he's come back, I think he can make that kind of demand.
Yeah. Paul said, just tuned in, Gerard Gallant could be a good fit. I think people forget, our generation remembers this. Gerard Gallant and Steve Yzerman were friends, were line mates, et cetera, et cetera. We have a funny Gerard Gallant story that we're never going to tell, but you know what I'm talking about. Sorry, that's all I'm going to say. But there's a question about culture out there. Those questions are going to come up. They are. I mean, especially like, I know what Paul said. I don't think the boys play hard for Newsy, but they did for Jeff, in my opinion. Matt said, in Fedorov we trust. I know a lot of people said Sergei Fedorov. He's done with his KHL contract now. So, is that a possibility? Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I don't think his next hire. I think his next hire will be a new hire. I do.
Okay.
I think that, again, just looking at his history, looking at the guys that he's brought in, I think he likes to bring in those guys, that have that first crack at it.
And if there's anyone, it would be Steve Yzerman that I would trust to have the feel of that locker room.
100%.
I think he's been in it. He's been around it from the bad end of it to the good end of it, from the good cop to the bad cop as the strong captain. He knows. He's no dummy. He knows exactly what needs to happen.
We are really doing overtime tonight. This is like, Islanders Capitals 1987. What were you doing that night, by the way? Do you remember where you were? I know you got a terrible memory, but I'm sure you remember that.
Oh, I was at home with my dad.
Were you?
Yep.
I had a broken collarbone and I didn't know I had a broken collarbone.
So you're going to do a read. I've got a funnier story about the Pittsburgh game.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I actually have a funny story about that too. You with a mutual friend of ours.
Okay.
No, seriously, in 87, I had a broken collarbone that I didn't know was broken. I broke it on Friday, and then I went to the hospital on Wednesday. And the doctor, he literally looked at me. He goes, "What's wrong with you?"
What is wrong with you in broken bones?
But I don't know. It hurts, right? I don't know.
I still think the broken wrist story is the best one.
Which one?
When he placed it back. Let's get this
okay. Here we are. Oh my gosh, that was the absolute worst pain in the history. Can we talk about our friends at Wealth Advantage Group? Are you ready to take charge of your financial future? Look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville and owned by two brothers right there, the Hanson brothers. There they are. Not Hanson brothers. With over 20 years of experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 states. The investment world, it is a complex one. So if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with an expert and reach out to my friends. There they are, Mike and Jeff, the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574, or view their website at www.thewealthadv.com. By the way, I'm telling you right now, Mike and I just decided this today. So Todd and Blake, we're going to do like impromptu shows during the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're all up anyway and like texting each other. We're like in a group text and we all text each other anyway. So Mike might be at his house. He might be here. We might be barbecuing,
right?
But we're just going to do impromptu shows. Hey, anybody out there and want to talk during the playoffs? So that's what we're going to be doing.
And the only guarantee in that is that I'll have a headset and I'll still hit the microphone and Blake will be mean.
Yes.
Blake will be mean to me. So real quick.
Look who jumped in. Did you see that? Congratulations, Steve.
The heck. So I was just
congratulations to your son.
Steve Hewlett just texted me. He had popped on the show, and I've got to give my boy Connor Hewlett out of Howell,
big
Michigan, played for the Howell varsity team last year, signing his tender with the Sheridan, Wyoming Hawks of the NA3. So congratulations, Connor. I look forward to seeing him continue his career.
Ben said, whoa, Fedorov and the history baggage he had on his way out. The reason why his number isn't in the rafters from an organizational side would be a mind-blowing hire.
So
and what the, hold on a second.
Let's get it.
Hold on, wait a second. Congratulations to the Hewletts.
That is awesome.
Did they do it all right?
I don't know.
Wait a second. And on a power play.
All right.
So, by the way, he's a freak.
Oh, he's so good.
Did you see that dumb thing I put out the other night? I think because I was up late. He goes to bed usually earlier than I.
Like an hour ago.
I know I'm keeping him up so late. I'm such a bad influence on you. He would be like 6 in the league in scoring if he didn't score a goal, right? Like he has more assists than every other player in the league than 6. He's nuts.
Yeah.
Seriously, he's nuts. Come on. Are you kidding me?
So real quick, the Pittsburgh, Washington,
yes,
82 overtime games. So when we lived in the beach house over there in Redford, I'm watching the game. Lemieux goes after Krieger, gets thrown out of the game. I have to go to the bar because someone that I was with, their buddy is playing in a band. So I'm like, I'll just go watch the game real quick. Let's go now. We get there. Not a TV in there worked. Couldn't watch the game.
What the
Right. Exactly. Well, it was a dive bar, whatever. So have a few drinks and we end up home around, let's say 1:30, 1:45 in the morning. The TV's still on, of course, because we're conserving energy. And the game's on. And I'm like, oh, look, the replay's on. I'm going to grab a beer out of the fridge, sit down and watch the rest of the game. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, what does that say? 7 period? What? Peter Nedved scores. So I got home. So I left the second period, went to the bar, thought I missed the game, got home in time to see Peter Nedved score with 44 seconds left.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Hubie, the night before Easter. Right? And Kelly Miller, by the way, was very diplomatic. Very diplomatic. I couldn't agree with him more. The two goaltenders in that game. Do you remember who the two goaltenders were?
Which game?
The game, the Easter game.
The Easter game.
Islanders and Capitals.
Would have been Rudy and Mason.
Good job.
Look at that.
They aren't exactly, I know Kelly took them to the finals, but look, Kelly wasn't very good. And Kelly Miller was very, very diplomatic.
Yeah.
Bob Mason wasn't very good. He just wasn't very good. He wasn't very good. He wasn't. He wasn't very good.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't strike fear into you. That's for sure.
No. Steve said, Connor says, thank you. Barbecue at our house for one of these playoff broadcasts. Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
You know what? We'll go do a live show out there. What do I care?
You wait to see
I can't
him
wait.
work the grill, and he's a steak master too. He's one of those steak whisperers.
We are going so long right now,
and I've got something that I have to address.
I know we still have 10,000. Can I tell you very quickly about Lindsay Broadwell? Though, can I do that? When it is time to buy or sell or both, you need to contact the right agent. The agent that I recommend is that young lady right there, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the main streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and that everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyers, sellers, first-time buyers, doesn't matter. Just make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. What did you want to bring up? We got to get out
real
of here.
quick because Papa Blake's coming.
Oh,
here.
look how
he's
mad
going to come yell at us. He's going to come yell at us, but he's going to be happy because I'm going to throw a bet at him. I'm going to throw a bet at him. There's something going on in the NHL and nobody's talking about it. And I can't figure out why.
Okay.
Connor McDavid's about to do something probably this week that only 3 other players have done in the history of the NHL. 100 assists. We've got Gretzky, Lemieux, and Orr. I believe I got that right. Are the 3 that have done it. So Blake, this is where you come in. He is currently 3rd. You can find him at about plus 525 for the MVP. If he can get into the 100+ assists, which he's going to, and win that scoring title, why doesn't he win the MVP? And why isn't anyone talking about
Draisaitl? That's my only. No, I'm not arguing with you. I hope you know that. Okay, I'm looking at it the way that a naysayer would look at it and go,
okay,
man, he can't
Then if that's the case, then Kucherov gets it. Go bet Kucherov because McKinnon's got the best team. McKinnon's low. That team is low.
Well, I think that's what's going to happen to McKinnon. Is I think people are going to look at the year Rantanen's having.
So
that might hurt him.
That was my thought. The only one that would scare me would be Kucherov.
You got it.
Would be Kucherov. And also on that, Blake, I had a 50% boost that I threw on that because I got it up to almost 9-1 for McDavid to get the MVP.
If anybody has watched me talk about this for years, and I think you and I have probably had, I think Rantanen is so woefully underrated. It's disgusting. It's really it's disgusting how underrated that guy is.
He should have the same pub as Draisaitl.
He really should. 1,000%. He really should. All right. The weekly question, and Blake, you can jump on if you want. Todd, feel free as well. Here it comes. The weekly question. We've all gone back and forth. Yes, no, yes, yes, no, yes, yes. Red Wings make the playoff. Blake, you go first. Yes or no?
No.
Mike?
Yes.
I've changed just in the last 48 hours.
We talked about this last night.
I know. 2 days ago, I was saying yes, and now I'm saying no.
I'm just saying you got to mark my
Ben
word.
said no.
Mark my word that Philly-Washington game on the last day of the season, their last game, is going to be everything.
So I'm going Friday after our event. I'm going Friday to the Rangers game, and then I'm going to the Capitals game with Teddy. Hi, Ted. And then I'm going to the Habs game with Joe Neville and some of the alumni guys.
Mr. Season ticket holder here.
I might be
Now-
at the
game.
Friday, are they going to have that full menu Friday? That me and you were drooling over you sent to me?
Listen, all I care is the chicken jerk sausage. That's the only,
Yeah,
that's all I want.
That they had a chorizo too, right?
Yeah, they did.
They had a chorizo too. So I've
Todd, Todd, don't disappear,
Wait,
Todd.
Yeah,
What the
this
hell
was
is that?
this is a Todd face
We're not
appearance.
talking-
This is
we're
big.
not talking line changes here. We just want to know if
Yes or no?
Listen.
Red Wings make the playoffs. Yes or no?
I'll be the foil. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
they
what do we
make
have?
it.
We have 2 yeses and 2
Yep.
nos.
Yep.
Okay.
And you've got to look at my guy, the digital gambler. Another one you might want to follow there, Blake, has him with his formula, 45.6% chance of doing it. And I love that guy. He's got great stuff.
I saw a bet in the book that I used the other day. It was either Colorado, the Devils, or the Panthers to win the cup, or the field. And you got those 3 teams at like plus 150.
Who the Devils? That's an odd one to throw in there.
Not the Devils.
Rangers.
No.
Rangers?
Hurricanes?
The Hurricanes.
Hurricanes.
Sorry.
So
So Carolina, Florida, and who?
in Colorado
Colorado. Or
Versus
the field.
I think I'd take
at
those
plus
3.
150.
I think I'd take
At
those
plus
3.
150.
Yeah, I really do. I think I'd take those 3.
I mean, those are about your 3 favorites, I would imagine.
Yeah. You know who else? I'm telling you. And I actually saw an article about it. And you were smart and you bet against them last night. Like Mike does this thing. He's like, I bet on the Habs, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time because now that means you're going to lose. And they actually they beat Florida.
Yep.
Florida's struggling right now.
Florida's sick.
They're struggling.
I got
right now,
the
man.
down low on them that the flu's going through them, and that's when I threw that bet at them.
Oh, look at that. Hubie said McDavid won't win the MVP. He can't get his 50 goals. Paul said if they get in, it'll be a lot of fun at the LCA.
Here's the real question.
That's
That's the Larry Robinson rant. Do you remember the Larry Robinson rant?
Oh,
I
gotcha.
can't get my 50 goals. You can't get my 50 goals.
Does Toronto win a series?
Yes.
Yes. I think they win the first round. I think, and then they'll party and all that. I can't wait until the Red Wings get back into the playoffs because I'm with Paul. Like that little outdoor area, like as you're walking in,
They
it will
built
be
for that.
so
They
cool.
built for that.
I mean, it's not. Do you remember the Red Mile? Like this is when you were a little kid, but 2004, Calgary made this mad run to the finals, and they had this stretch called the Red Mile. Do you remember the Red Mile? It was unbelievable. It was like a mile of just partiers. And since then, a lot of arenas are building like that outdoor area. And that outdoor area down at LCA would be so freaking cool. You know what's going to be really cool? Where we're at on Friday. Yeah, Blake knew exactly where I was going with that. Todd knew exactly where I was going with that.
Here we go.
And where we're going on Friday is Corktown. That's right. We're going to see at Batch Brewing Company. They are the official craft beer sponsor of the show. And we're going to be broadcasting live down there from 10:30 to noon. They've got beer specials. They've got an unbelievable menu. If you don't believe me, make sure you go check out their menu at batchbrewingcompany.com. But we are going to be out there from 10:30 until noon. We're going to have a bunch of the wiseacres that are part of this show. I know the coach is going down there, Kirk Hunter. So please, if you're looking for a spot, even if you can just come say hello, buy a beer, and maybe buy me a chicken jerk sausage. Make sure you get to 1400 Porter Street, okay? Or some chorizo.
Yeah, some chorizo. Get out there and support Batch.
And now, Blake, what you need to do is tell people. So we have like 252 people watching right now. What do they have to do right now, Blake?
I
Go to
want them
YouTube?
all to go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and like the most recent video. That's what I want everyone to do. If they do that, I'll be a very happy boy.
And if you're a small business or you're a big business, listen, we're not going to discriminate, but you want to be part of this, we'd love to have you be a part of it. This is fun. Period. End of story. This is a bunch of guys talking sports. We're not taking ourselves seriously. It's one of the things that I hated about the sports talk genre is all of a sudden everybody started taking themselves so seriously. We're talking about sports. Like, calm down, you know? So we're having fun. I'm doing it with my buddies. Obviously, we'd love for you to be a part of it. Reach out to me, reach out to one of the guys, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. Is there anything else we have to hit on?
No, I mean, we get great guests and we like to talk to them. So we leave ourselves such little time. I mean, I've got a pile of papers here to go through, but I don't want to bore the people.
All right. So I know next week we have one guest already. Gordy Brown from the Motor City Rockers is going to join us. So we're going to do a segment talking about the end of their season and looking ahead to the playoff. And then there's a potential really big guest. Okay. Like really big guest. I can't tell you yet because it's not sure. But really, I don't even think he knows who it is. I think you do.
Okay.
I can't give any hints.
I know we've talked about a few things, so I'll see.
Really, really big guest. Fingers crossed. All right. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, India. Thank you, Providence. Thank you, Disillusionment. We'll see you Friday at Batch Brewing Company. See ya.
What the Puck, featuring Sean Belegian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Belegian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to What the Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.